Hello there, fifth graders. Welcome to your next math lesson. Go ahead and open up your math notebook and turn to the next available page. And at the top, write the title of this lesson, which is Estimate Sums and Differences with Mixed Numbers. So as you can tell from today's title, since it says sums and differences, we will be adding and subtracting because a sum is the answer to an addition problem and a difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. And since it says mixed numbers, you know we'll be dealing with fractions because a mixed number is a number that has a whole number part and a fraction part. But we won't actually be having to add mixed numbers today because it says estimate. And anytime it says estimate, you know we need to round. So we're going to be rounding these addends and these minuends and subtrahends to the nearest whole number before we add or subtract them. Let's do an example together. Let's say we had 7 2/3 minus 4 1/4. Now, in order to find the exact answer to this, we'd have to find common denominators, but we're not doing that today. Again, because today we're estimating. So what we're doing today is we're rounding these mixed numbers to the nearest whole number. And it's really pretty simple. This is all you have to really focus on today is look at the fraction and think, is the numerator more or less than half of the denominator? So is 2 more than half of 3 or less than half of 3? So if we had 3 marbles here and 2 of them were colored in, 2 out of the 3, that means more than half of the marbles are colored in. So 2/3 is more than half, which means 7 2/3 is closer to 8 than it is to 7. So 7 2/3 has a whole number part and a mixed number and a fraction part, which means it's more than 7 because it's 7 2/3, but it's less than 8. Like if you had 7 whole pizzas and then 2/3 of an eighth pizza, you have more than 7 pizzas, but not quite 8 pizzas. You have something in between. But you have closer to 8 than you have to 7 because 2/3 is more than half. So you have 7 whole pizzas and more than half of the eighth pizza. So we should round 7 2/3 up to 8. Okay, next we have 4 1/4. Think of that same thing here. If you had 4 whole pizzas and 1/4 of a fifth pizza, you have more than 4 but less than 5, but you have closer to 4 or closer to 5. Well, if 1/4 is above a half, then it's closer to 5, but if it's below a half, then it's closer to 4. And if we have 4 marbles here, and if we have 1/4, so if 1/4 of them are colored in, you can see that's less than half. So 1/4 is less than half, which means 4 1/4 is closer to 4 than it is to 5. So 4 1/4 would round down to 4. And now we subtract. 8 minus 4 is 4. So 7 2/3 minus 4 1/4 is about 4. And that's all you're doing in today's lesson. You're taking mixed number problems like this, you're rounding them to the nearest whole number, and then you're finding what the estimate is for the answer. Let's do another example together. Let's do an addition problem this time because we're finding differences and sums here. 5 1/3 plus 3 7/9. Now, we don't need to find common denominators because we're not actually going to add these mixed numbers together. Instead, first we're going to round them to the nearest whole number. So if you had 5 whole pizzas and 1/3 of a sixth pizza, you have more than 5 pizzas, but less than 6. You have something in between 5 and 6 pizzas. Do you have closer to 6 or closer to 5? Well, since 1 is less than half of 3, that means 1/3 is less than half. So you have 5 whole pizzas and less than half of the sixth pizza, which means you have closer to 5 pizzas than 6 pizzas. So 5 1/3 is going to round to 5. Here, if you had 3 whole pizzas and 7/9 of the 4th pizza, you have more than 3 pizzas, but less than 4. But do you have closer to 4 or closer to 3? Well, 7 is more than half of 9, which means 7/9 is a fraction greater than 1/2. So if you had to round either down to 3 or up to 4, you have closer to 4 pizzas. You're only short 2 slices. 7 is 7 is only 2 less than 9. So if you had just 2 more slices, you'd have 4 whole pizzas. So you're closer to 4 than you are to 3. So this one's going to round up to 4. And so now we add 5 plus 4 equals 9. So 5 1/3 plus 3 7/9 is about 9. Let's do another example together. Let's do a subtraction one this time again. Let's say we have 9 1/7 plus 5 6/7. I'm sorry, minus. This is a subtraction problem. 9 1/7 minus 5 6/7. So we're going to round 9 1/7 either down to 9 or up to 10, because 9 1/7 is between 9 and 10. Since 1 is less than half of 7, it means 1/7 is less than half. It's a fraction that's its value is less than half, which means 9 1/7 is closer to 9 than it is to 10. So we're going to round down. And so anytime the fraction, for some reason I wrote a 10 even though I said round down, we're rounding down to 9. So anytime the fraction is less than half, you round down to whatever the whole number is. Anytime the fraction is more than half, actually, anytime it's half or more, you round up to the next highest whole number. Since this is less than half, you round down to 9. Now, we have 5 6/7. So we have more than 5, but less than 6. And since 6 is more than half of 7, much more than half of 7 would be 3 1/2, right? So 6 is more than half of 7, which means 6/7 is a fraction greater than 1/2. So we have 5 and more than a half of the next whole number, which would be 6. We have 5 and more than half, which means we're closer to 6 than we are to 5. So we're going to round up to 6. Now we subtract 9 minus 6 is 3. And so 9 1/7 minus 5 6/7 is about 3. And we're going to end this video right there because I have a Zoom starting right now with the other cohort. So there will be 2 videos on this one because I want to do more examples with you. So make sure you click on the next video attached under this one too, so that you can see all of the examples before doing the independent practice work. Okay, I'll see you there. Signing off.